Welcome back to the Fear
and Beer podcast,
where we discuss all things Halloween Horror Nights, horror movies,
and just a little bit of beer.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Seamus.
Like scary movies.
Uh-huh.
Here's Johnny.
It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
Did you miss me? Aren't you drinking?
I never drink. Why?
Before we get into tonight's episode, we want to remind all of those listening on Apple Podcasts to drop us a 5-star review. It helps us grow as a podcast and build our audience. If you're listening on Spotify or any other platform, follow us, and don't forget to share with friends and family who might have a little bit of the strange in them as well.
And while you're on those socials, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, be sure to find us, Fear and Beer Pod. Give us a like, share, and you can always message us. We love to interact with all you guys.
We're back. We're in the same clothes. It's weird.
Friday, September 2nd.
We are hours.
Opening day.
Hours
away
from the event opening.
If you're listening to this, get your ass there. Get your ass to the park. What are you doing? Get and stay and scream.
Yeah, why are you listening to us? You should be at the theme park getting ready for the event to open.
Made this just so you all have something to listen to before rocking into Halloween Horror Nights,
so
or
you
even
can come yell and scream at us,
or even if you're in the park right now, just with your AirPods in or something, listen to us, waiting for the mood to get right, letting the lights to go down, the music to come up, characters to come out, all that good stuff. Beer's flowing. Come say hi to us. Find us. We'll probably be there.
Probably. Listen to this guy.
We'll probably be there somewhere. We will be there.
Yeah.
But I don't know where you will be.
You will come find us.
So we'll probably be around you.
Two jokers looking like us with Fear and Beer shirts on. Come say hi.
We'll be there. Fuck yeah. Oh, God, I can't wait. It's crazy. Oh, and also, did I mention yet? This is our 100th episode.
Oh, shit.
100 episodes about an event that lasts for
2 months.
40 days of the year. Insane.
We have people that actually listen to us and enjoy it. Like, they don't listen to us ironically, which is cool.
Insanity. So, today, the big Mac Daddy of them all, hype lists, our houses. So, we have a hype list ranked 1 through 10, and we are going to be discussing our houses. Now, if you listened yesterday, our scare zones and our shows were actually a lot closer than I thought. And again, much like yesterday, a lot of these are fairly interchangeable for me. I haven't seen this strong of a lineup in a long time. I
will say, for me, the top half, the top 5 is pretty interchangeable.
Yeah.
The bottom 5 are a little less interchangeable, and we'll get into them.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a couple that I'm not. Like I said...
Yeah, my 10's pretty rock solid in that 10 spot.
Yeah, well, mine is too. And the thing is like I said on our last episode, the Horrors of Halloween Scare Zone outranks a couple of these houses.
Yeah, I'm curious. Tell me know when they stop comp.
And I'll tell you where I would fit it in if we did a full list when we get to it. But yeah.
All right, so let's get into beer. You are still rocking the fog machine because you had a tall boy.
I did have a tall boy. Through the magic of the internet, I'm still drinking the same beer as I was in the last episode.
And we have the same outfits and the same table setup.
So, I mean...
It's crazy.
I don't know.
But I picked out Sweep the Leg from Equilibrium. Equilibrium. I can't even say
Equilibrium.
Whatever, that one.
Equilibrium from New York.
Equilibrium.
They're amazing.
And Civil Society.
That's all I got to say.
It's a little Cobra Kai sticker on there. I got this because I'm excited to try this, and I'm excited for Halloween Horror Nights.
And
I'm
triple
excited
IPA.
that it's our 100th episode, and that was triple excitement for a triple IPA.
Oh, that beer's gonna. He hasn't even drank it yet, and he's not drunk, but he's gonna be drunk after he
10%. It's a 10% triple IPA.
Those bastards creep up on you. I'm telling you. After you have 2 or 3 triple IPAs, and you realize that they were triples.
I had 2 or 3 triple IPAs.
You stumble around.
I'm excited. This was the only one on the shelf, and of course, I saw the Cobra Kai decal, and I was like, well, I can't not get this. But wow,
you didn't get a loser. I can tell you that much. I've never had that one particularly, but I love Equilibrium. So if you can find Equilibrium wherever you live,
Equilibrium.
I mean, I'm sorry for all our European listeners and our foreign listeners that
not
probably
gonna find that.
You don't get our weird, crazy micro brewery beers here in the States. But if you live in the States and you find Equilibrium, I suggest buying it because it is...
Get him a body bag!
It is godlike. It's just... Equilibrium is... it's hard to explain. There are just certain certain microbreweries, certain craft breweries that are just on a completely another level.
That Treehouse
than other ones, like Equilibrium, Treehouse.
Was it? What's the Alchemist one? Is that
Alchemist
Alchemist
in
Brewing?
Vermont? They're really good
Because they do the heady topper, right?
Yeah. There's one in Vermont, Hill something. There's just certain ones. There's certain breweries, and
they're like the name. They're like their brand, like their namesakes, and like the
well, that's
that
exactly
microbrew.
it. Like even for people that aren't huge craft heads, you say certain brewery names,
They'll know.
and they'll know what you're talking about, and they're one of them. Bissell Brothers is kind of like that. There's another one in Boston. I mean, the Northeast is stacked when it comes to micro craft brews. I mean, I don't want to say that we're, the Northeast is probably the best, but I mean, it is one of the best places for craft beer. And I know that people in other parts of the country would argue with me, but I'm telling you right now, we have just tons of great places, and Equilibrium is one of those. So if you can find it, because I don't believe they distribute everything. I'm surprised he found
It was a shot. That was a gem. That was a.
Yeah, it was
I
one
wasn't
of those
expecting to find them.
Where they're like, oh, how would you? We have that, and like, it's just, yeah. I don't know how much more I can say. I'm not even the one drinking it, and I'm like stumbling over my words. It's just Equilibrium is just so good. So
I'll let you sample this one after me.
Find them, buy them, and enjoy them.
All
That's
right.
all I can say.
I'm gonna dive into this, see what it is, because
Oh please! I bet you it smells.
this has a
like
dank smell.
Yeah. Triple IPA, my friend.
Doesn't taste like one. That's smooth.
Really?
Super smooth.
So it's dangerous. And that's what you
Sneaky.
get. That's what you get with Equilibrium.
You got that. I mean, you got that metallic-y taste at the end, but there's not much. The body isn't heavy.
Oh, you get that.
It's nice.
You get that warm
It's
feeling because the
smooth.
boozy at the end. Oh,
Yeah.
Dude, triple
Smooth.
IPAs are the best, but I'm telling you, ones like that,
They're dangerous.
ones like that are dangerous because you don't realize it's 10% until you're 3 deep and you're
You're
like, the fuck?
why
happened?
is everything moving
Why is
around me?
everything spinning and I'm not moving. But yeah,
Lo and behold, you have just your underpants on and you're running down a street.
it what I would say messes with your equilibrium.
Ooh, bing ding. All right, let's get into these lists. I made you start last time. I'll start 9.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Number
I'm gonna put the
10.
same.
Number 10. Horrors of Blumhouse.
Not my number 10, but
Whoa.
close. But not my
Okay.
number 10, but close.
All right, I have it there. I just compared with all the originals, and really the only other what I deem as true IPA.
IPA. You got IPA in the brain.
IP. That's just where it lands for me. I like both the properties, the Black Phone and Freaky. But in a year where these houses are
stacked lineup.
stacked,
It's a stacked lineup.
it just falls short in my interest.
Did you find that it was almost split in the middle? There's 2 IP houses that are lower and 2 higher, or is that just me?
Kind of, sort of.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of. I think we're along the same lines there. But yeah,
I'm wondering. I think that you and I are going to think differently on a couple of them.
I think so.
But I'll let you continue. Sorry.
But yeah, it's there. I mean, it's going to be probably fun, but I have a strong feeling that this is probably where it will sit at the end of this event as well. I think all the other houses have much more upside, and this is just like
Yeah, 100%.
kind of where it's going to be. Could one of the houses that I'm very excited for fall completely flat? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But they could also, look at last year's event when we're looking at names and we're like, oh, Wicked Growth, Puppet Theater. They have the chance to be something like really cool, and they end up being like some of my favorite houses of all time. A lot of these houses feel that same way, where they could be. I don't know if they will be. It's a hard task at hand, but they could be.
If you listen to us long enough, or you just know us personally, like, you know that there are certain ones that just by the name alone, you're like, oh, they're gonna enjoy this house. And I think you're right. I think this year, this is the year for any of those people that just are super hyped on original ideas, because this is your event. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
So that's my 10, the Horrors of Blumhouse. So what do you got at 10?
My number 10 should be no surprise to anybody that listens to this podcast. It is Universal Monsters, Dracula.
The Legends Collide.
Legends, whatever the hell you call it. Yeah, not super hyped about this. We've obviously talked about this in the past, in the last few episodes, that I'm not a Universal Monsters guy. Again, don't at me, don't hate me. This is not a hate on things list. This is just my lowest hyped house. It could very well come out and completely shock me how much I like it. I'm not putting it down to the point where like I'm gonna go into it not liking it. I'm gonna go in with an open mind like I do all the time, and I'll give it a chance. And it will come down to whether or not I desire to go through it every time I go to the event. If I go through it once and I think meh, I probably will never do it after that one time.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm going with an open mind. I'm gonna leave it open for interpretation, see what happens. I mean, look at last year. This is how I felt about Chainsaw. Wasn't psyched about Chainsaw. Turned out to be, it was okay. It wasn't great.
It was better than what we
did
expected.
Did it a couple times, better than I expected. Not one I was wowed with, but I enjoyed it. So let's see.
Yeah.
I mean, they could come up with some great, cool idea that I really dig. But again, just to bring it up once more, this is a part one of a 2-part house. I'm not sure how I'm gonna feel about not getting the end of the story.
Yeah, that part is a little meh for me.
It's just it's weird. It's a weird way to go about it. I like the idea of bi-coastal houses, but I don't like the idea of leaving stories open for people like me who I can't go to California and see the other half of it. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But it is my 10th rate house, or as far as hype is concerned. I'm sorry, Universal Monsters fans. I get it. I can already hear you screaming into your car or radio. I get it. I know. I'm sorry. I'm a terrible person for not liking Universal Monsters. So, you want to go to my 9?
Yeah.
All right, my 9 is Blumhouse.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, everything you said, I'm totally on board with. I love the movie Freaky. I was super into Black Phone. I'm just really nervous that this is going to fall flat. Mm-hmm. It's going to be boring. That's what I worry about.
Yeah,
it's just gonna be a boring house. If it's just gonna be, what I worry more about is that like Freaky's gonna be really good, and then you're gonna get to the Blumhouse stuff, and it's gonna completely bring it down.
The black phone stuff.
Yeah, Black. Sorry,
it's all Blumhouse stuff.
Blood. It's the blood sound. Black Phone.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna get to the Black Phone part, and that's gonna drag. I think it's just going right along the same things I've said before. I think that there's two very different styles.
It's tough
of
to hit them together.
Where it's going to be hard to hit it together.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be one of those things where I would hope they'd finish with Freaky because
that's what you want to remember.
You want to finish on the high of that movie. Whereas if you start with that movie, you go from the high of that to the really slow burn.
Yeah, of
Black
the Black Phone.
It's just like.
It's tough for a slow burn to be a house.
It's just going to feel meh. And unfortunately, as much as I like Ethan Hawke's character in the movie, I worry that it's going to feel kind of phoned in as far as the scare actors are concerned in the house. And I don't mean that to be mean. I just feel like...
He's Ethan Hawke and you're, potentially an aspiring actor working at Halloween Horror Nights. It's tough to match that skill level.
It's just that I feel like it's going to be really samey.
Yeah.
And that's... my one concern with the Halloween house is it's going to feel samey because you're going to have a whole bunch of Michaels.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a little bit higher on my list just because it's Michael Myers, but you get my point.
Yeah, yeah. And at least with Michael Myers, like, it's just the one thing. It's not mashing different Halloweens together.
Correct. So with, like, Blumhouse, it's low on my hype list, but it's probably the one house that I want to blow me away.
Yeah,
I'm going into this one hoping to God that it actually like excites me. Like I really get something out of it. Like I want to like this house. I like the movies, but I'm just worried that it's going to be kind of boring and I'm not going to want to do it again.
Yeah, I think it'll be like a movie walkthrough where it's like I finish it and I'm like, that was cool.
Yeah, it's almost like the Stranger Things houses for me.
Yeah, it's fun, but like
I didn't hate it and I liked it and I love the show, but
at the end of the day, it was just kind of there.
It was just in it.
In an event,
no reason to want to go back to it.
In an event with so many crazy, awesome original stories,
I think
it's hard to compete.
My bias towards the originals doesn't help. So take these with a grain of salt. Obviously, it's biased to my opinion because it's my list. But I think that with a lot of IP houses, I can do them once or twice and be like, well, okay, it was what it was. I like this. I like this item. But if I'm not super hyped on the property to begin with, I'm not gonna like the house as much as I should.
Yeah.
I think like last year, Beetlejuice was one of those ones where I was happy it was as good as it was because I wasn't super hyped on Beetlejuice either. But when I went through the house, it completely, I want to say it shattered my expectations, but it was a lot better than I expected. And it was worth waiting for. So that's kind of what I hope the Blumhouse house does for me, is that I go into it super low expectations, not really hyped, but it, blows those expectations out of the water, and I actually enjoy it a lot. So that's what I'm hoping for. But because of that, it's sitting at 9.
So my number 9, and I think this will surprise people, but when you look at the rest of my list, it might not. Number 9 is Descendants of Destruction.
We're pretty close.
So that's the whole New York subway underground creature-esque house. It looks fun. I'm excited to see what these sets are, because I'm sure they got a lot of really cool, fun stuff. And I'm sure we've said this already on the last episode and this episode already, and we're going to say it 10 times again this episode. It's just tough when some of the other stuff ahead of it just appeals to me so much more.
Yeah.
This is one of those houses that I think has a crazy upside. If you told me that at the end of this event, this would be a top 5 house for me, I wouldn't be surprised.
I believe, I'd agree.
I think there's a lot of upside, but I'm buying it at the floor, essentially.
Yeah, well, I think it's this is kind of like, and we haven't got to where it's on my list yet. This is kind of like, to me, the what was the one with Boris?
Case Files.
Case Files was, where it was like, had no idea what it was.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
Going
Like,
into
I'm interested.
Not a whole lot of understanding. The only difference with that one was you recognize the symbol in it.
Yeah.
So it gave you some backstory. This one, it's completely vague. Like, we have very little idea what's going to be. We know it's going to be Subway, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, maybe there's tie-ins with past creatures from other events.
Right.
We don't know.
So with this one, I think, and we'll get to, again, I'll go into more depth, but I think it's one of those ones where it's like, it's going to come down to the characters and the creatures. It really is going to come down to that kind of determines whether or not this house is good or not.
Yeah, for sure.
So now we're to my 8, or your 8.
Oh, my 8. So my 8, kind of where you were at. Universal Monsters Legends Collide.
Yeah.
Universal Monsters, the first one, was really fun, really cool, and it was it's tough saying that a Universal Monsters property was original, but it was at that time.
It is.
But I meant they've been
in a
around.
way, it is an original.
Yeah.
It's Universal Monsters.
Yeah.
But
they've been like a mainstay, but we hadn't seen them in a house aspect in it. So it was fun seeing that, and we got a little bit of everything. And then the next year we had the house, the Bride of Frankenstein Lives, or Frankenstein Lives. But it just seems that trend aspect of it. I'm excited to see what they do, because I definitely do teeter more towards these 3 than a Bride story. And again, I think the Bride for me falls more on the fact that I saw it twice in a row. Had it not opened for HHN Light, maybe I wouldn't be so low or so harsh on it. But that's just what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah, but even for me, it just didn't wow me to begin with.
Yeah. I'm really, like I said, I think previously on our announcement episode, I really hope that the story, they've gone in depth about the story. I hope that story is portrayed to us through visuals enough that you can kind of understand what's going on, because that was one of the bigger aspects of the Universal Monsters house last year, where it had a really cool in-depth story, but you only got so much of it from going through the house. You could obviously tell that Frankenstein was hurt, and then she just started taking Dracula wives' bloods or Dracula blood, and it just didn't completely unravel the story for me enough to figure it out. So I'm hoping that this house does surprise me and move up a little bit, but I'm just such an original fan that it's tough to knock some of these other ones out just by name alone.
Yeah, I hear you.
So to your 8 now.
So my number 8 is going to be Hellblock. Again, a lot of these original ideas, I think, like you were kind of saying with Descendants, is that some of them suffer in my list just based on the idea that I have no idea what it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks.
And it's hard to hype something when you don't know what you're getting into.
You're judging off of a name, a logo, and a snippet of information.
And part of why I put this low is because we know for a fact this is replacing a different house.
Yep.
So we know that this one going in
Last minute switch.
is going to be a last minute type switch. They've been known to do really great work with that.
Yep.
Obviously, they turned Scream into Purge, and it seemed seamless. So they can do it. We know they can do it. But the way, like we were talking about the original, the first episode, we were kind of going through the drop of the names of these.
Yep.
We're talking like it could very well be like Monsters Past and everything else. I feel like it could be one of those
Sneaky.
just throw a whole bunch of shit to the wall and see what sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And that could work out great. It could surprise everybody, but it also could fall flat.
Yeah.
And that's what I worry about, is this one's going to be kind of boring. But we'll see what happens. I mean, I think if they go hard with the prison theme, I think there's a lot they could do with it. I just don't want it to be a bunch of prison cells with random monsters in it, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, if there's no rhyme or reason why they're there, then I'm not going to be sold on it. I would like to see that it's tied into the scary house from last year. That very last scene.
Have it be like the Shady Brook Asylum or something like that.
But, I mean, who knows if it will be or not. But I don't know. There's not a whole lot to go on, obviously. So there's not a whole lot I can make. I mean, again, this one, it's really a shot in the dark.
We don't have any reference. A lot of these, we really don't have a reference.
Probably the only reason it's even this low is because I don't know what I'm getting into. And I, unfortunately, if I can't visualize what I think's going to happen, then it's hard to hype it for me.
Yeah. All right. So
you're
you're 7. Yep.
And my 7 is Descendants of Destruction.
Okay.
So it's right around the same.
Flip-flopped around there.
And again, it's the same thought that you had. I think that sounds really cool in theory. But for me specifically, it's going to hinge completely on what the monsters look like and how well they're done, and only because I don't want it to be a bunch of pseudo zombie type things. And that's again the same issue I have with the Graveyard Scare Zone. Is that if it turns out to be kind of nothing but like
generic
just zombies in a different name, like mutants, like
it's a tough sell.
It's just boring. The only thing that would save this one is that because it's underground, there's a lot of cool effects they can do with underground.
Mm-hmm.
Forcing, like I said before, like if they make it look like a train's coming at you or something like that, or if like they use some of that claustrophobia and they make that an aspect of this, I think there's a good chance that I'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like remember how like last year with the oh my god, with the not the Bly Manor but Hill House. When they did Hill House and they had that section where it was like completely black and it was like sound deadened.
Yep.
If you do something like that or have some of that something like that,
do the light
with
come
train
out
noise, that would be cool.
Yeah.
And I think would help elevate this house. But I'm worried that it's going to be kind of generic, just underground monsters, and that's all we're getting.
I am excited. I hope that like there are like a setting, like a train station set. Like I want it to feel like we're walking like on a platform with like lights flickering out and stuff like that. I really hope that comes into play in that
bring
house.
Me to a New York subway.
Yeah,
and I think that, and I think they will be able to do that. But it needs to work in a certain way for me to be like super on board. And again, I think it also suffers from the strength of the other originals.
Oh, for sure.
There's just so much more. There's so much more to get hyped about when it comes to some of these originals. You're like, oh man, I can't wait to see what this looks like.
Yeah. So my 7 now. I believe, my 7. So my 7 is Hellblock Horror.
Okay.
Similar to yours. Same thing. There's not much to go off of really. It seemed it's like some kind of asylum, prison, something along those lines. I think it would be pretty cool. We talk about compilation houses a lot, and sometimes they miss, sometimes they hit, as long as they're done right. And I think that this could be a hit if it's a compilation of like past creatures, aliens, monsters of Horror Nights Past, because it makes sense for them to be in this same atmosphere. Unlike like Scary last year, it was just from one random area to another random area to another random area in the lore of Scary, so it didn't really make sense from going from section to section to section. This is I view it like Arkham Asylum from Batman. Yeah. There's a reason why all of these creatures and people and monsters are in the same place, so it makes sense. It's not a far stretch of the imagination. It is for the outside world, but if I'm walking through this house and I see an alien and a Yeti and meaty meats and whoever, to me it makes sense because they deserve to be in that place, and,
Right.
and it's
But I think
apropos.
and I think that like my original point is that if it's not that, if it's just some random
Thing.
monsters,
Yeah.
then it loses some of that luster.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it would be almost better if it was like what you're saying.
And that's what I'm hoping, and that's what like really favors them by keeping a lot of these props. So if something does drop last minute or anything, you just make a couple calls down to the warehouse. Hey, we
Right.
got this. We still have this. Do we
Right.
have this? Perfect. Just check it off the list and be like, well, that's our house for this year. Start building.
Right.
Um, So again, I'm hyped for it. But I think it can only go up on my hype list.
Yeah.
So my number 6, The Weeknd, After Hours Nightmare.
Okay. This is where we're gonna start diverging a
Different-
little
okay.
bit, I think.
It made it up a lot higher than I was
Honestly,
originally expecting.
I was expecting you to come out and say it's your 10th.
Yeah, no,
I really did. I thought it was gonna be like, and not again. That's not like saying that. I'm
I'm an original whore.
I know you, and I know what you like and what you don't like, and I think that again, it's one of those things where you're interested, but you're not expecting a whole lot.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's gonna be fun. The reason why it climbed up my hype list is that showman aspect. You know, the technology aspect. If you're doing a house like Descents of Destruction and Hellblock Horror, you know, it's just an original. The settings don't really need all too much. You know, horror's a Blumhouse. The IP is the IP, so you're gonna get what you get. The Weeknd being like, you know, the performer that he is, I'm expecting like full scale concert level atmosphere. Like,
Yeah.
I'm expecting top notch audio, top notch lighting, top notch sets and design. I'm expecting for everything to just be, you know, flawless and above and beyond everything else. You know, I don't expect this house to be a house. I almost feel it as an experience, I guess. And that's kind of my expectation I'm talking myself
I think
into.
our expectations are pretty much the same. It's just
Yeah.
how hyped are you about those
Yeah.
expectations.
So that's what I'm hoping for. I think that this house, I mean, I have it at 6, so it's sort of in my middle.
Yeah, it's right around the middle.
But if you told me this was my favorite or my least favorite house, I wouldn't be surprised either, because I could see it moving in either direction.
yeah, for sure.
I think more than likely it drops down, only because I think Descents of Destruction and Hellblock Horror have a higher chance of bumping up, and the stuff I have above it, I don't believe can drop down. But I've been wrong before about my expectations.
It's the great thing about this event is that it usually changes your expectations.
There's something there for everyone. So your
So we're
6.
down to my 6. So my 6 is, and again, my 6 and 5 are pretty much interchangeable, I think. Or actually, honestly, like my 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 are all in some way interchangeable, in some ways not. But there's a reason why I put these ones here. My 6 is Spirits of the Coven.
Okay.
Again, as I said on our last episode, the one you listened to yesterday, the whole witchy sorcery type thing, like, it doesn't do it for me.
Not your cup of tea.
Not something I'm super into. I don't really like the idea of witches and that sort of thing, and black magic and all that stuff. Like, I mean, there's aspects of it that are cool, but not something I go out of my way to watch these types of movies. I mean, unless it's something that's
Unless it's
really
the witch.
weird, esoteric. But again, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But again, that's not about your
Witches, yeah.
witches type
Yeah.
thing. And I think that
Come have my gruel.
exactly, and I think that although this is going to do more than just that, it's still going to be your traditional coven of witches being witchy, doing witchy things, Salem, that sort of thing. And like, again, it's not that I dislike it.
Yeah.
It's just not high on my to-do list when it comes to Halloween stuff. There's so many other things that I'd like to watch. Now, that doesn't say there isn't things that are out there that I do enjoy. There is one movie that I watched on Shudder, and I'm trying to remember what the hell it's called. Let's see if I can figure that movie out. It's a movie basically about a mother and daughter who are both witches, but it's not in the traditional sense. It's really esoteric. It's weird. It's something. It's called like Hellbinder. Is it Hellbinder? Hell.
I gotta definitely start diving into the Shutter hole a little bit more than I do.
I'm gonna see if I can find that movie.
So what number were you on? I can jump into mine. Well,
Hellbender. That's
Hellbender,
what it is. So
okay.
Hellbender on Shudder. Sorry I didn't mean for the dead air, but Hellbender the movie. It's a witch story, but it's also like a coming of age story, and it's also weird and dark.
All right.
And it's like a black comedy type thing. It's one of those movies where it's weird, and that's for me. It's like I need weird shit to make me feel anything.
yeah.
So that's why like traditional witch stuff isn't. It's like okay, yeah, cool.
It's fine, yeah.
Fun. It's fun, but it's not something that I'm actively looking for. So this one could be cool. I'm hoping this one again, kind of like the Blumhouse and basically everything that's low on my list.
Yeah.
I hope that it's really good. Like I want it to be good. I want to be completely wrong. Like I like being wrong in this aspect. Like I want to know that hey, you had it at 6. It's actually one of your favorite houses of the year.
I want to
Like-
come out saying that these are all my favorite houses ever.
No, I would love to be like torn at the end of
Yeah.
the event.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know if I have a favorite. Like,
Yeah,
there's
it's
so
hard to
many good
pick.
ones. I don't know if it's going to be. I like the theme. I like the 20s aspect.
The
I like the flapper type thing.
Speakeasy-ish
Speakeasy thing. But I don't know if it's going to be enough to win me over. But who knows? We'll see what happens. I could be wrong. So that's my 6. And then my 5 is Fiesta de Chupacabras. Again, I'm hyped for this because I want it to be like Yeti.
Yeah.
In the sense that I want it to be about, that legend of a certain creature. And Chupacabra, like Yeti, is a creature that is spoken about in a lot of, Southern cultures, Hispanic cultures, and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So I'm super excited to enter to see this house. I really want them to go unique in this house. Like I actually want it to be bright.
Yeah.
I know it won't be.
Yeah.
But I think of like Mexican standoff, like Fiesta torn apart, shredded, but it looks almost like daytime. I know they won't do that. It's gonna be night. It's gonna be a dark house, like every house is dark. But at the same time, I think that there's so many things they can do with this house, theme wise and effect wise, that I'm actually looking forward to seeing what they do pull off. I'll be disappointed if it's bland.
Yeah.
But I find that it's going to be hard for this one to be bland because it's about it's about a monster that you don't see a lot. They don't make a lot of things about this monster.
No.
There's not a whole lot of movies out there about chupacabras that I'm aware of anyway. So if there are things, let me know. So it's something different. I like when they bring in different cultures to this. Like every culture has a different boogeyman or a different monster,
like
or a
cryptoid
different
or whatever.
something, right?
Yep.
So give me all these different various things that I think there's a lot of good stories in. And this one doesn't even really have to have a super deep story.
No.
Because it's about the chupacabra, which already has its own built-in legend. So it's not like they have to do a ton of work rewriting a history for this character. I just don't want it to be. I feel like this is one of those that it's either going to be really, really good, or it's going to again fall flat, and they're not going to hit it the way I want it to. But I have hope because I like the Yeti, and I think this one is going to be kind of like that same type of thing. So
Yeah. So my
your
open
5.
my list.
So the top half.
My 5, getting close to yours, Spirits of the Coven.
Okay.
I mean, it's in the top 5, so you can't say that I'm not excited for
Right,
it.
exactly.
Um,
top half.
The Speakeasy is awesome. The Witches, I'm fine with that. I'm excited for Flappers. I like the style, but I'm very curious how it's going to be incorporated into the two. I know that time frame. It makes sense. So like, I'm expecting like beautiful Flappers to transform
Correct.
as we go through the house
Yeah.
into these like,
Haggard old
haggard
witches.
Yeah, exactly. And they're luring you in for their witch's brew or whatever. But no, I'm excited. I don't know much else to say that you didn't cover. Typically, my go-to horror style is not necessarily witches, and like I said on the Scare Zone one, I'm more excited for Spirits of the Coven as a house than I am for Conjure the Dark as a Scare Zone.
Yeah, and
So
agree with you.
I think it's gonna be fun. I'm excited to get back into that house location if it's where they're saying it is, because it's one that hasn't been used in a little bit. But no, I mean, it fits the theme. It fits the theme of Halloween, classic Halloween, witches, goblins, brew, all that good stuff. So it'll be fun to get through that house for sure. So my number 4.
We're getting up there.
We're getting up there. We're getting up there.
And you notice that there's one that I haven't said yet. That's
Yeah.
still on the list.
My number 4 is Halloween.
Okay.
It's my highest IP.
Yep.
It's
my highest IP.
highest IP out of 2 that I technically consider. But
Right.
no, I'm excited. The first Halloween hasn't been there since 24, so I hadn't seen it in person. I've seen Halloween since. They've done them at 26 and 28, but I haven't personally got to go through the original one yet. So I'm excited to kind of check this one out and then see what's changed and see what's similar and all that fun stuff. But I just really hope that they meet or exceed my expectations, because it's tough. It's a tough thing to do, a tough task at hand when it's such a beloved IP.
It's that IP that could very easily underwhelm you. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, what the biggest concern is like, if this is going to underwhelm me.
Yeah.
So we're at 4, right?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So my 4, surprisingly enough, to everybody that, and you're going to be like, what? Is Bugs Eaten Alive. I have spent the last week and a half exclaiming, or probably longer than that, exclaiming how bugs are the worst thing ever created. I hate bugs. Bugs are awful. Bugs are the worst. They're just terrible. And this house is going to probably quite literally make me poop in my pants.
Throw up everywhere.
I am going to be...
Sir, you have to get you out. You're too drunk. No, I'm not drunk. I just hate bugs.
I just don't like.
I hate bugs.
This house is just making me feel things. Why is this so much higher on my hype list than everything else? Is simply for that fact that it is probably going to be the first time I've gone through a haunted house of any kind, of anywhere, Universal or otherwise, that I actually feel like I'm going to get that bitter, like just primal fear. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It's one of those things.
They're
where,
scaring you on a different level.
Like it's a different level of fear where I actually have a phobia of certain bugs and various things that are creepy and crawly, and they're blowing this up to be human-sized or bigger, and that's going to give me the willies, and I'm going to feel all kinds of unwell feelings about this house. So that makes me so hyped about it, is that I'm actually going to get something that I truly think is going to affect me in that way. And there's not a lot of things that do when it comes to this type of stuff, because once you kind of get past that initial, this is all fake, it's not real.
Yeah,
Like,
you might enjoy it a little bit more after that.
Right.
fact.
It's
But until we get there,
I would love. I mean, the thing is like I watch a lot of these people that like go through these things, and they really are like genuinely afraid.
Yeah.
Like I almost envy them a little bit, because I would love to know what that feeling is like in a way. Because for me, like a lot of times, like I've said before, a lot of times horror movies, they have to almost make me feel uncomfortable.
This will
more
do it
so
to you.
than scared, and this is what this is going to do. It's going to make me.
So I'm
feel
surprised. I'm
super
surprised it lasted this long on your list. I thought you were just gonna say 10. I'm not doing it. Bugs eaten alive. Fuck you.
No. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna hate everybody while I'm there. So my whole group of friends are gonna be. I'm gonna hate every single one of you. I'm not gonna enjoy it, but at the same time, I am gonna enjoy it, and I'm probably gonna do it more than once, because as weird as it is, people don't. So the people that like don't like this type of stuff,
Yeah.
they don't understand why we do. And the thing is we like that feeling of being scared. You like that feeling, that uneasy feeling. You like the adrenaline rush of the unexpected and the unknown. And that's what makes horror movies and horror events so much fun, for us anyways. So with this, because I'm going to get that just unadulterated primal fear, I think I'm hyped about it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if I go through it and I'm not affected by it, I'm going to be like, well, that's such a letdown.
Yeah. And the fun thing is you're talking about most of the aspects, the fact that it's bugs.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the other aspect that draws me towards it when we get it to mine on my list.
Yeah, and I kind of know where you're going with. I think where you're gonna like it, and I agree with you. I think that part of it's cool too. But for me, it's specifically
The bugs.
Just the idea that there's large, huge, animal-sized bugs.
Yeah.
It's horrifying, terrifying, not okay. But still fourth on my hype list. So we have my 3.
Yep.
All right, so my 3 is The Weeknd.
All right. Climbed.
Yeah, I knew this was going to be high on my hype list to begin with. I know that when we were talking earlier in the year, we had talked a little bit about, the idea of them, is this going to become a thing? Are we just going to have musical artists that get
Just
a house
because.
or get a scare zone just because they're a big name? I know that I'm opposed to that. I don't want it to become that. It's not what I'm looking for.
Because at some point you're going to get somebody that's shoehorned in that shouldn't be.
Correct.
At some point.
I think that is a legitimate concern.
Yep.
I think it's a legitimate complaint, and I feel that complaint. I agree with a lot of it. But with that said, I don't think The Weeknd is that.
No.
I don't think he's shoehorned. I think he fits this event great because if you actually listen to his music, like I've said before, he has really dark music. His lyrics are really cold and raw, and it's not just the standard. I have a whole bunch of money and I'm cool and
I want to be here. So
and I want to be here. It's musicians and athletes and actors and all these people that make tons of money. Yes, they make lots of money, but they're still human and they still go through the same human shit that we go through. The only difference is that they have the money to pay for all the help that they need. We don't have the money to pay for all the help we need. At the same time, I'm sure that in the process of making an album for the sharks that is Hollywood and the sharks that is the record industry, it's got to be pretty stressful. It's got to be pretty nerve-wracking to be able to put out music and stuff that people are going to enjoy for years to come. Otherwise, what do you have? You have nothing at that point. So the fears there, I'm sure he feels, are real to him, and I think they're going to do a great job of expressing that through his music and through his visuals into the house. Now, on top of that, like I said before, I love the idea of a fever dream, overstimulated. Just give me a house that makes very little sense visually,
It's fun.
but between the music and the visuals and just everything that's going on, I want it to feel like you're having a fever dream, like you're having just like an out-of-body experience. Like I want this to be like a Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas type of experience.
I think it's going to be.
And I think that's exactly what this is going to feel like.
Yep.
And that's why I'm so hyped on it. I mean, it helps that I am a fan. I will say, I'll preface this by saying I am a fan of his music. So I'm going into it with that as well. I know with some people, they're not fans of his music, so they're just immediately going to bad dog it because, I'm not a fan of The Weeknd. So, okay, I understand that, but you have to give it a chance. I'm hoping that everybody will at least give this a chance. And if it's not up to your expectations or you don't like it, well, fine. At least you tried it and you gave it a shot. I think that even though it's high on my list, I do feel like there is a small chance that it could underwhelm me. And I worry that it will. But at the same time, I think that it's a small chance, at least in my eyes, for my opinion anyways. I think that I'm going to enjoy it. I think that it's going to meet expectations. It's going to blow away expectations. I really do think it's going to be good. I think of Us and the way they fucked up with that, I Got 5 on It song. I think they made that sound really cool and dark. And I think that with his music, they're going to take the music and make it really dark.
Yeah.
And more dark than it already is. And his music videos, I mean, they have a lot to pull from. There's a lot there.
There's a lot of source. There's more source material than people think.
So, yes. Super hyped about it. Don't want this to become a thing. Like, I don't want it to become like an annual thing. Don't take away from a good
right
house
now,
for this. Unless, again, it's like this situation where you have someone like The Weeknd who
that works,
that will fit the event.
Yeah.
As long as it's like that, I'm on board. So, yeah, I'm super hyped for this house. So, we'll see what happens. I'm hoping that it's not going to underwhelm me, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Putting it up that higher does allow it to drop more than where I had it.
Yeah,
where
I get that. I understand that. But I honestly do think that this one could outrank some of the houses that I
have above it as well.
Have below it or above it, too.
Yeah.
Who knows? I doubt the one's above it, but we'll see.
Yeah. So my number 3, Fiesta de Chupacabras. Okay. So close enough to yours as well.
Still top 5.
I do like this potential, and coming off of one topic saying we don't want to see this thing happen every year, going on to this topic where I say I do want to see, I wouldn't mind seeing something like this every year, where it is some sort of like
mythical creature,
urban
cryptid,
legends, like something like that, where it's just, I talked in the past about, we had Yeti. Now I want to see like a Bigfoot house, or like a Yeti versus Bigfoot, or you can't really do Loch Ness monster unless you like transform the monster into something other than what people portray it as. But I think there's some fun aspects that you can play with. I think the story that they gave this benefits it, saying that this is a celebration for the creature. The local town in Latin America is celebrating it, and they're bringing tourists in, and we're the tourists, and we're just being led to slaughter to make sacrifices for their creature that they worship, whether for it protecting their land or being an actual god in some sense. But I'm very curious to see what the party aspect of it has. I'm expecting a very, like you said, dark. I'm hoping and expecting a very colorful house. Whether that will happen or not, I'm not sure. I'm also hoping in this house we get, like last year they did a lot of those big puppet push things.
Yep.
We had the pumpkin and Wicked Growth, and Beetlejuice had one. I'm hoping we get something like that in this house, whether it's like a big mask or even like a big chupacabra style face coming towards you around a corner.
Lots of growls.
Growls, snarls,
sort of thing.
Smelly house.
Slobber.
I hope, like, even though like the colorful scenes are fun, and I'm hoping for like something nice there, I'm expecting, like you said, dark scenes with like bad smells, whether like corpse smell or like dirty animal smell.
Yeah, I think honestly this will be your gore house.
That's what I'm expecting.
Out of all the 10, I think this is your gore house.
Yes, this is definitely the gore house. So then my number 2, Bugs Eaten Alive, much higher than yours.
Only by a little bit. Though.
A little bit. What'd you have? 5?
4.
4? Oh, okay, all right. I think we just talked about that being the gore house. I think this is going to be the body horror house.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the prosthetics. And I'm excited for the whole 1950s, like, nothing can go wrong style.
Oh, the theme of it
is like
be really
that
good.
part of it, as like, I just love it. I think it's just like, it reminds me a lot of like, it reminds me a lot of like early Epcot days, or like
it'd be like Fallout. Like if you're a big gamer, if you like the game
like,
Fallout,
step on in to the home of the future.
Right, exactly. And like
the Jetsons, like we'll have flying cars in the year 2020. Like,
and that's the thing. Like the game Fallout is part of my fears because like you fight gigantic cockroaches and flying fucking mosquitoes that are the size of a fucking car, like shit like that. Like that's just horrifying.
I think there's just so many places that this house could go.
I'm gonna cry. I promise you, I will cry the first time I go through this house.
And like the bug aspect of it, obviously, like I'm fine with bugs, whatever. I'm not even curious about the bugs. I'm curious about like the 50s style house. Like I'm curious how they portray that theme of
how
like
they tie it in,
tie it into the house of like, you tell me bugs eaten alive. I picture big bugs eating us, attacking us.
I can already see it. Like,
but I need to know and see how it's going to lay out.
Monstrous, like you're gonna see like a fucking house with a yard,
like a
and,
cocoon,
like monstrous fucking like anthills.
Yep.
That like just bugs are pouring out of.
Yep.
You're gonna see the dude being eaten alive by a fucking huge ass spider.
And it's funny too because I feel like the characters in this are just gonna be victims.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I think there will be. People dressed up as bugs or whatever. Or
mutant bugs. Okay, but like I just pictured them as like, if you have enough like Robotronic like style set pieces, like you can have them interact with that.
The majority of human characters will probably be victims.
Yeah, so I'm excited for that. So over to your 2.
So we're down to top 2. So your number 2 is Bugs Eaten Alive. Mine's Halloween.
Okay.
Obviously, there's a reason for that. I'm a huge Halloween nerd. I love the movie. I love all of the movies in a lot of ways. If you've listened to our Halloween review episode with our buddy Eric, I mean, there's just so many things that make that movie special to me. And the fact that I've never gotten to do a haunted house based around Michael Myers is also a big thing. So I'm trying to avoid watching any video of of other houses that they've done with Michael because I don't want to be spoiled by anything. I don't want to see what they're probably going to do again. I just want to kind of go through it fresh and really kind of experience it for the first time. So not a whole lot to say. We all know what Halloween is like. I'm not going to spend an hour explaining the movie and all that sort of thing, but I'm just super pumped for this one. I don't think this one could even disappoint me.
No, I
don't
feel like
think
even
this-
on a bad house, as long as it's still Halloween,
I don't
I'm
think
fine.
I don't think there's any way for them to disappoint me on this house. And again, that's just my bias for the movie coming through. It's my second favorite horror movie of all time,
Which is fine because it's not a bias when it's your...
No, exactly. And it's one of those things where like there's certain IPs that I love that I don't super enjoy as a house. Like it doesn't wow me, or it just doesn't thrill me.
Yeah.
This one is one of those IPs that I just hold so near and dear to my heart that it's just going to be cool walking up to Haddonfield.
Yeah. I feel like
in person, like real life. This is real life
There's-
Haddonfield.
like going through this event, there's so many IPs where you're like, oh, that's cool. Like I enjoy that movie, but when it's your favorite like movie,
Yeah.
it just hits different.
It's like if you're a huge Potterhead, like you love Harry
Yeah.
Potter, and the first time you go into Diagon Alley, or the first time
You're
you
like,
get to go
"Whoa."
into
Yeah.
Hogsmeade, you're just like blown away,
yeah.
and it's like, oh my god, I'm actually here.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it is for Halloween with me. So
Yeah.
I'm excited.
It's just different. All right, so I guess we have
Down to my
so number
one.
one. Might as well just say it. 1, 2, 3. Dead Man's Pier.
Winner's Wake.
Saw that one coming from miles
we kind
away.
of knew that one had, and that wasn't planned. Like we kind of knew that. I mean, I knew that he definitely was gonna have a
Oh,
number
yeah.
one. This one for me is like it's Halloween, and then this one's right above it. And the only reason I put this one above Halloween is because I just tend to prefer originals,
Yeah,
and that's really why
they
I
have
put
so
that
much.
one
They do.
above.
They have much more freedom. They can do whatever they want.
And on top of that, the fact that it's based in a New England seaside town. You and I
Yep.
are both from Massachusetts. We're from New England. We're from that area. It is kind of like how the Scare Zone Horrors of Halloween is going to feel, that timeless retro Halloween feel
Yeah.
for me. This is going to be just like growing up in New England fall.
Mhm.
It's just going to give me that feeling.
Yeah,
And
brings you back home a bit.
right, and that's the thing. That tugs at your heartstrings a little bit when you're from the area because, like, this is where we grew up. This is what we want to
Yeah.
do. And on top of that, it's a really cool story.
Yeah.
Really cool scare actors. So yeah, I'm gonna let you kind of go off on this because I know this is your
Yeah,
this is
I
your
really
thing.
hope that there's a character in there that like one of the dead men come out from the sea, and then you just hear somebody go like, "Yo, that thing's wicked fucking weird, kid." That's what I'm
I'm
hoping
gonna do
for. But no, I mean, from Scare Zone to House, I've spoken before. This was even a rumor that this has been one of my favorites.
We've
Back
said it a couple times. We're like, they need to make that a house.
Yeah,
Like,
back
that has to be a house.
way time ago when we did a collab episode with HHN365, we did a Create Your Icon
Yep.
episode, and my icon was called the Fisherman, and I pulled from all of the Dead Man's Wharf's like lore. So that's how far back it goes that I've truly fell in love with this Scare Zone and this story, and seeing him last year at the Eddies was just kind of like sad. It's like when like the big rock stars of like the 70s have they peaked so high, and now they're just like playing at like a local dive bar. I'm like, oh man,
they're reserved to Eddie's sideshow.
yeah. I'm like,
And that's how I
don't
felt about that Scare Zone.
do my boy like that. Don't put Dead Man's Wharf on a 5 by 5 foot podium and,
Right.
and just be like, rawr,
It's one of those-
rawr.
It's
Like,
it's
ugh.
one of those characters and stories that deserves more than that. They
Exactly.
deserve their own Scare Zone
Yes.
or their own house. Like Eddie, take him or leave him. I understand kind of why he was developed. I'm not a huge fan of him. I could see him kind of. That's kind of his shtick. That's his
Yeah.
thing. But with a character like this, there's too much there. There's too much backstory that you really can't. You can't get anything unless you do a full house.
Yeah.
I
mean,
think it just requires that.
this is what I need. I need like the seagulls. I need the
Oh, yeah.
crashing of the waves.
The
I
scent
need
of
the
the
smell of the
smell of
salt.
the
I
smell of
need
the
like
ocean.
that fish pier smell.
Yep.
I need to walk down a pier.
Yep.
Like was it I think it was Wicked Growth, where we walked over what looked like a bridge.
Yes.
And you had the
Wicked
the
Growth.
like horse
Yep.
Ichabod Crate or whatever, tapping along or whatever.
Yeah.
I need something like that where we're visually walking over a pier and you hear the creak, creak, creak,
Yeah,
creaking of the. I need all of it, but for sure I need the smells. I need this thing
Yeah.
to be our scent.
And on
house.
top of that too, it's also that's the tagline is
Winter's Wake.
Winter's Wake. So
Yeah,
it's gonna
I
be
need cold,
It's gonna be
snowy,
in winter time,
frozen
so
tundra.
Give me that Yeti snow cold effect. Give me all that like pump that AC, blow those fans, make it feel like you're there. I would love to go onto a fishing boat.
Yeah,
Like,
that'd be.
if they
yeah.
find a way to get it.
I want the
to
splashes. I want like water effects in there, so we get like
get the spray.
splash every now
Yeah.
and then. Like
You
you hear a
spray.
wave crash, and then like the mist comes
Yep.
out. For everyone that's not or hasn't been to like a New England like beach, I feel like it's just different than down here. The beaches I've gone down here they're fun and they're beaches, but then like when I go up north, they're smaller. They
different.
smell like it's actual
different.
fisher beaches.
And you gotta understand, like
I'm sure they're
we're
I'm
from
sure
the
they're here
area.
too, but
You grew up going to Maine, so
Yeah.
you're used to that. Like that's something you remember.
Yeah.
So that's something you want to see again. And I think that's what you're gonna get with this one. I think this is one of those ones where it'll feel special. It'll feel different.
Mhm.
Like it's not just another house. This is something that like really does kind of pull back to childhood
Yeah.
memories. And I think it sounds sappy and kind of cliche, but it's true.
but it's true.
It's true.
That's why it's a
And
number
that's
one
why
for a
this
reason.
one- this one hits, and I do think this will probably be House of the Year.
Yeah,
There are some dark horses. There are a couple dark horses that I think will have a opportunity
yeah,
to beat this one out, but it's going to be hard.
yeah.
I think
No, I
it's
think
gonna
so
be
too.
Super hard to beat this one out. I just think everything's lining up for this one to be
Home run.
just the home run House of the Year. So,
Yeah. No, that's. I mean, I really can't say more than what I've said over the last 2-3 months.
This will
of
be
this.
the one we do multiple times in a night. This will be the one that we do
Opening night for
most
sure.
out of everything. Yeah, it's just this is just it. This is the one that I think everyone is gonna have to do.
Everyone, for Fear and Beer's Nick's sake, show your love for this one, so they know to bring the fisherman as an icon.
Yeah, right. Bring him back.
Make my dreams come true. But let's go through these lists last time. Let's get off the air and let's get the fuck to Horror Nights because
Yeah,
it's
seriously,
starting any hour now.
I'm bored. I'm yawning already.
Number 10 for me, The Horrors of Blumhouse. Number 9, Descendants of Destruction. Number 8, Universal Monsters Legends Collide. Number 7, Hellblock Horror. Number 6, The Weekend After Hours Nightmare. Number 5, Spirits of the Coven. 4, Halloween. 3, Fiesta de Chupacabras. 2, Bugs Eaten Alive. And number 1, Dead Man's Pier, Winter's Wake.
Yeah, and mine again are Universal Monsters Legends Collide at 10. My 9 is The Horrors of Blumhouse. My 8 is Hellblock Horror. My 7 is Descendants of Destruction. My 6 is Spirits of the Coven. 5, Fiesta de Chupacabras. 4, Bugs Eaten Alive. 3, The Weekend. 2, Halloween. And 1, Dead Man's Pier, Winter's Wake. Can't wait. We are now shortly hours away from going to the event.
Merely hours away. If you're listening to this,
Probably going to leave and not go yet, but when you're listening to this, we are on our way there.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, shit. 100 episodes. Horror Nights is tonight. It's just, it all lined up so
It's
perfectly
almost like
for
we
us.
planned it,
Sort of.
kind of.
Sort of.
Busted our ass to make this work out.
7. It wasn't even 7 days because at first I was like, oh, 7 days, 7 episodes. No, it was 8 days, 8 episodes because we went Friday to Friday.
Yeah.
So that was.
Yes, sir.
Hope you guys enjoyed this week. I hope it went by a little bit faster for you with all this content. If you see us in the streets, come say hello. We
please
will
come
be
find
there.
us. Like,
If you don't even, if you don't see us and you're there opening night and you do want to like grab a beer or just say hi,
Say hi.
hit us up on Instagram,
text
Twitter,
us.
tag us, whatever. I'll see it at some point. I am always on my phone generally. We will make a plan and we'll swing by, say hello, because it's always awesome to meet people that that listen to this. But man, until next time, which I don't know when it is. We'll do our instant reactions at some point, maybe the weekend or for the following week after Horror Nights. But we'll be back very shortly. You would say that we deserve a break after this 8-day run, but no.
No, we don't need a break.
We are in the midst of our season. We are not going to be
Mama
stopping.
didn't raise no bitch.
Nope, we are going to give you all the Horror Nights content that you want and deserve and need. But until then, this is Nick.
And this is a guy getting eaten by a giant spider.
Happy 100th episode! Happy Hans.
This is cursed. Cursed. It's got a death curse.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare.
And again, I would just like to thank Vampire Stepdad for letting us use his music for our intro and outro music. So if you would, just go check him out. Spotify, Facebook. Again, that is Vampire Stepdad.